class 11, Jimmy. I thought you were going to walk out the door, folks. It's been a long...
Yeah, my horse is double parked.
It's been a long session here, a couple of sessions, but I think that we're learning a lot. When we first looked at this chair, Jimmy, we thought, hey, that's an easy one, right?
Yeah, I thought a few weeks. You know, 5 anyway.
Wow, did we get into it, didn't we? So I just want to catch people up. Today, I just wanted to let you know, review a little bit of what we're going to do. But hopefully we're going to finish this. You're going to hand stitch this on, Jimmy. And I'm going to be sewing your cushion. We'll show people what I'm doing over here. So we're going to get you set up first to make sure that you're okay. And then we'll check in on you periodically, okay?
Okay.
So we left it with this just pinned like so. And then we trimmed back just to catch people up. We use this as a demonstration on one of our questions. A lot of guys are watching the Q&A. You saw us take this and fold it under. So I unfolded it just to catch you guys up. So what we did was we drew a shot line along the piping, and then we trimmed it back about an inch. Okay, so now your job, Jimmy, I'm going to actually help you with this. I'm just going to, you can do your side. How's that? What I'm going to do is the middle first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it and I'm going to stretch it up. And the idea here is to get it tight and to actually still see a little bit of the cardboard tack tape.
Okay.
Okay, because you need to see where you're going to be stitching to. And you're going to be stitching to the bottom of that piping. So you don't want the fold to override the piping. You want to see the full piping. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look where I'm pulling, you see how your pin is?
Yeah.
See how your pin is? You don't want your pin up like that. Look at well, I'm putting my pin in right into the cardboard. Watch this. Watch what I do here, Jimmy. I'm pulling up and I'm going into the cardboard like this. Okay? I'll check your side. You know, we can be very generous with these pins because the better job that you do on prepping this, the easier your stitch work is going to be, okay?
Okay.
And I think for every beginner out there, you should learn how to hand stitch. You know that we have this metal ply grip that we use to close up outsides, but I like to get people started on the hand stitching. If you get good in the hand stitching, believe it or not, it actually it helps you with the ply gripping. You understand how to close up and outside. So I say practice your hand stitching as much as you can, as much as time allows. If I had it my way, everything I do would be hand stitched, Jimmy.
Really?
Oh, it's the best way to do it, of course. Of course, it's a sign of class, right?
And we ran out.
We got a couple for you there.
Ah, you come to me.
And you need to take these out as you're pinning, as you're sewing, Jimmy.
As I'm getting closer to it.
So we're going to get you a chair too, so you can sit down.
Wow, another added benefit.
Can you imagine that, an upholstery shop with a chair? What are the chances?
Oh my God, what's new? What's next? That's what I want to know.
How you doing, Jimmy?
Is that the executive chair? No.
Actually, the reason I brought this over was to see how you're a little
Yeah.
surprised that the problem down here is actually up here. So you didn't see what I did over here. I'm going to undo these.
Okay.
Watch what I do. This is very important for people to see, right? Because this would have been too loose. You would have had a nightmare to stitch this. So what I'm doing is I'm coming over here. Look how I stretch this up. Look how much stretch there is in that, Jimmy. See what I'm doing? I'm folding it and stretching it. And I want to be satisfied that that's tight. That's why I sat down. Sometimes you have to sit down and look, it folded up. See, it's a nightmare, right? Look,
Yeah.
look it over here. So you want to pull it this way just to get it tight. And again, I hate to keep picking on your fabric, but your fabric has such a stretch to it. But it's a challenge. If people want a challenge, I tell them, look up Jimmy's fabric. Where'd you get this fabric, Jimmy?
Oh.
Elastics R Us?
Yeah. Of quite, it was a fire sale at the time.
All right, let me see if if I could get this tight. Look at
Looks
that,
better,
huh? Yeah, you know, if you don't get this properly pinned, by the time you get your stitching over here, you got a
Still
problem.
majorly loose.
Yeah, so we just get one in there. We're almost done here to start getting you going. Just this. One more. Okay, now we're going to turn this. You expressed a desire to maybe do it like this, just so
Well,
be careful your
yeah.
pins. It might be easier for you to see this and for people at home to see it. I don't know if you can get a close-up of this. I'm going to get you started, okay?
It's been a while since I've actually done the stitching.
Yeah. Now, Jimmy's left-handed, so it's very important for him to start as a left-handed person. It's really important because you're going to be stitching this way. I would be starting on the other side, so I'll start you out left-handed, although I'm right-handed, Jimmy. That's what I do. That's what friends do for friends, right?
Okay, well, if you're gonna use that on me, make me feel guilty.
Wouldn't be the first time you felt guilty about being left-handed. Listen, so you don't want to take you need double the amount of thread, but you really can't take double because it's just going to knot up on you.
Right.
So just take, let's say you're going to try to stitch to here, okay, to the midpoint. But you need double, 1, 2, okay?
Okay.
That's not a perfect science, don't worry about it, but you don't want to take too much threading.
Because you
It's
tend
just
to
gonna knot
get,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll knot up on you. So we're going to thread this and give you, we're only going to give you like about 8 inches of this coming through the needle. You don't want that too much of that either. Okay, so I'm going to start by coming down this way, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to knot near the end. Doesn't have to be right at the end, but just near the end.
Well, I'm gonna make it near the end. That's what I
And there still needs to be cut. It's just as one is necessary.
Oh, okay.
If you want to get 2, that's fine. I do want to remind people who are watching, if they hear this yelling next door, it's a barber shop, that's all it is.
I thought it was the prison, children's prison next door.
No, it's just a barber shop. The kids are just getting haircuts, can you believe that?
Yeah.
But we were young once too, right, Jimmy?
No, I just kind of came out like that.
Oh, you
Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you guys are gonna bring up movies and.
Okay, so I'm just going to get this started for you, Jimmy. So what you want to do now with the thread is you're alternating from the piping to the outside back.
Okay.
Okay, the transition between the two, that's what's important. That's what locks your stitch. That's what makes a blind stitch. Okay, so right here, it's about a 1/16 of an inch behind each time you do that, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm pulling this down straight, not tight, but I'm trying to gauge where to go next. I'm pinning that in there. Look at that. That's about a 1/16 of an inch behind. The needle will determine your length, which is about a 1/2 of an inch, okay, when you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to show you the action here. This should lock. See that?
Yeah.
It
Now,
locks.
when I put the needle in, am I
Now you're going to take this needle out as you go along.
Okay.
Now I'm transitioning down to here. I want to be below, as close to the cardboard tack tape onto the piping as I can.
Okay.
See where I am? Now watch, this is what locks it. This is the important part. What locks it is, and I'm pulling up each time. Notice I'm holding this with my thumb down here too. See how it locked?
Yeah.
Now I'm coming down. You see the distance. That's the important part. See the distance there?
Okay.
Do that again before I come up. And each time you have to kind of pull it. You have to pull it tight.
To make sure that you get it's taut.
Now, if I see puckerings, I'm not going to be so upset if I see puckering. It's actually an indication that you hand stitched it, but you don't want to be seeing the thread. If you're seeing the thread, you know you're not doing your stitch properly. Okay, that's an indication you're not doing your stitch. You see that?
Okay.
Do you want to try one while I'm standing
Yeah. Let me see. It's been a while, but I was gonna give it my best. My domestic side may come out today. You never know.
So with your stitch, yeah, I think you got it. It's pretty good. How do you feel like your grip is on that needle, Jimmy?
It's you gotta be really firm with it.
Can I give you a tip on that? Go ahead, finish that stitch. Make sure you don't, knot it up. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, give that a pull. Make sure you hold this
Yeah.
down. That was beautiful, beautiful. Now
Okay.
listen, can I see your fingers? Can I
Yes.
see your needle? The way I hold it, I have my thumb and my index finger, and I have it really firm, especially when I'm first putting it in.
Okay.
You can't have your needle flapping around
Okay.
because
So
you
good.
need precision. It gives you more precision when you hold it
Especially
tight.
on
Yeah.
the bead.
So why don't you do a couple more while I'm standing here? Hold it now. Can you see where you're going? Like, you know, the distance behind. There you go.
Yeah. So
You're gonna be in the piping. You're alternating.
I'm going ahead.
You'll
Right.
be always behind. Always about a 1/16 of an inch behind. Yeah. Right. And try to be at the bottom of the piping if you can.
To keep the stitch.
Yeah. It
from
takes a
hitting.
little while to get used to that. Most people are used to a straight needle.
Yeah.
So it
that's
takes you a little while to
totally-
get used to the curved needle. But this is really good practice for people. Give that a pull. When you pull it, Jimmy, make sure you pull it this way,
Ah, okay.
not straight out. It gives you, I think you're doing great. But watch one more stitch, then I'm gonna start doing a little bit of stitching on my own here with the machine. What do you think? Are you safe?
I think
See this part here though? You can be go ahead.
Okay.
But you can let that come out a little further, right? You can be a
Ah.
little further away when you do that. You know
Not
what
so
I mean?
not so tight. More.
You
like
don't have to be, you know.
Okay.
But you can if you want. Could be
Well,
your style of stitching.
Yeah. Yeah. That. I don't know. We won't patent a move yet. But we'll,
All right, we're gonna get going on Jimmy's cushion. Follow up to Bernice, and Bernice got you guys started on how to cut the cushion, a custom cushion, and I'm gonna start showing you little tips about how to sew. And every once in a while, I might ask Jimmy to look over to see what I'm doing, because after all, it is his chair. Okay, the very first thing I want to show you is that we cut the zip up. Okay, we cut our boxing was 4.5 inches, and we cut that, and we cut our zippers at 3 inches. Each piece is 3 inches, and it's about as long as the zipper. And the boxing is going to be a little bit longer coming around to give us some flaps, but you'll see that in a minute. First thing I want to do is show you that on some, we had enough to do one piping all the way around without any machine stitching. So I'm going to sew that up right now, just give you a couple of tips. We cut this at 2.5 inches, the welting. We put our welting inside here. We have our welting foot all set up over here. So I have my piping cut about 2 or 3 inches longer all the way around and about 2.5 inches wide. I'm going to put my cording in, and I'm going to sew this. And I'm going to take a stitch about 3 on this, just to speed me up just a little bit. You don't need to be too close with this. Now on the other piping, I want to show you after I'm done with this one that we were a little short, so I'm going to show you how to piece another piece on so that you hardly see it. Ideally, you'd like to be able to do these all in one piece, but that didn't happen. Sometimes you don't have enough fabric, so it won't make a difference. Okay. Okay, so that's one piping done, one side of the cushion. Now on the other one we're a little short, so I'm going to show you how to piece this in a good way. Okay, you want to miter it. So what you do is you put one piece, doesn't matter which piece, face up, and the other piece face down at a right corner like so, and then you're going to sew an angle right across here. Okay. And now I'm going to, just for you guys, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go down to a 2 on my stitching. It makes a cleaner stitch. I'm going to go back up to 3. Okay, I have my angle, and I'm going to trim this up, and then when I pull this out, when it's sewn up, you'll hardly see it. Okay, so let's sew this one now. I'm piping out here. How's it going, Jimmy?
Well, I wouldn't, yeah, it's okay.
Okay, I'll check in on you, don't worry.
Don't, that's okay. You finish that little cushion for me and I'll be like, wow.
And keep in mind, hand stitching, Jimmy,
Yeah?
can come out.
Yes. I'm
You know?
very well aware of that. I haven't had a problem like that, but
I mean, I just didn't start upholstering one day. I have a lot of mistakes behind me when I first started. And
how many pieces of furniture by the wayside, Kevin, huh?
how many what?
How many pieces of furniture did you leave by the wayside?
Did I leave by the wayside?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but I remember the guy in particular. We're on the second floor of a building, industrial. He got so frustrated at the chair that he threw it out the window.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I wouldn't get that frustrated. All the other upholsterers says, you're letting an object get the better of you, you know?
And that's the way life works.
That's right. Okay, so this is the second one. Okay, so now my job is going to be, let's do our zipper next. Let's sew our zipper together. Let's just do that. Okay, we have two pieces for the zipper. What I'm going to do is just close this up just a little bit, but I don't want to go too far because we have to put a stop in this, and I'll explain that in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one side. I'm going to have the fabric face down. I'm folding it up at about 1/2 of an inch, and I'm putting the zipper, the good part of the zipper, or the slide part, down, and I'm going to stitch. Okay, the important part of this, folks, is to make sure that your fabric is peeking through here a little bit, that you see a little bit of the edge of the fabric. If you don't see the edge, that means you might not be catching the thread, and that's very important. You need to catch, I mean, you have to catch the fabric. If you're at the edge, you may not be catching it. That's what I meant to say. So let's just go along like this, just to show you what I mean. So you got a nice little flap there, you see that? I'm going to flip it over, flip this over. I am not caring too much about lining this up. It doesn't matter on the back. This down. Okay. Just gonna square that up a little bit here. My zipper's done. Now what I'm going to do, my job is now to sew this piping around. Bernice has cut this out custom size for us, right? So now I have to sew the piping on around each the top and the bottom of the cushion. I'm going to start in the middle, but I'm not going to start right at exactly. I'm giving my piping a little bit over the center point this way, but I'm going to start sewing away from that area, so it gives me a little room to work on my piecing of the piping, which has to be done on that. And watch what I do. I notch, I turn, I fold the fabric over. See what I did there? Now I don't really have to on this part, on the interior part, I don't have to notch, but I do here. Notch, plant the needle, turn the fabric, and continue stretching. I have another notch here. The first one, I'm going to notch. Very small notch area, isn't it? I mean, it's a very small cutout. Sometimes we don't even cut out those. And I don't feel like on that one that I need to notch it on the interior. But I do feel like I have to notch it up there. And plant the needle. It's very important to plant the needle when you turn the fabric. Definitely on the front corner it needs a notch. Go to the corner, plant the needle. Sometimes it stops for you, like that one just did, and then continue sewing. What I'm doing is I sew. I got a straight edge, so that's pretty good. The fabric, actually, Jimmy, I'm going to give your fabric a compliment. It sews from this side pretty good.
Thank you.
It's the other side.
But you might want to throw the chair out. Just to give it a little love.
And yeah. Okay, I'm gonna notch that. Plant the needle, turn the cover, turn the mounting. Don't feel like I need to, on the interior portion of that, notch it. That's just a judgment call, you guys. Notch this. Plant the needle, continue stitching. Notch that. Plant the needle, turn it. Plant the needle again, turn it. Wow, there's a lot of cutouts on this cushion, Jimmy. But you know though.
That's a very unusually shaped
Yes.
cushion.
And here we go. I'm going to cut this a little bit beyond the center point this way. I'm going to cut my welt about 2 inches from that point. I'm going to open it up on this side. I'm going to undo the piping, take out some piping, I mean. Did you see what I did, you guys? Safety reasons. You get in the habit when you're cutting and you have a tough cut, never have your other free hand near the scissor blade. Really, that's my tip of the day right there. If you notice that when I was struggling cutting this, I moved my hand out like this. I actually, when I was first starting, they actually had me practice that. I'll tell you, they think this is easy. Not easy. Nothing's easy though, right, Jimmy?
Oh, it's always the people that say it's easy when they pick it up to do it. They what do I start? What?
Right.
Right? Am I saying that right?
Okay, so there's our back right there. Get another piece of piping. Could save that piping for Jimmy's legs that he's got. Okay, cut a little bit of the piping now. We're going to start in the middle, a little bit this way. Plant the needle, turn the needle. There. That's an needle, turn the fabric. Off and running. The needle. Notch it. There. Okay. Cut away the piping. Threading around the piping, then cut the piping. Then I'm going to fold the end and then put it over the other piece coming in, making sure this is nice and tight and it meets inside there, and then continue stitching. Okay, so the next step is the boxing. So so we're gonna line up our boxing. We have our boxing cut at 4 inches. So how's it going, Jimmy?
Well, it's a work in progress. I am doing pretty well with it, I think. My stitching seems to be...
I think you're
pretty
too
tight.
good. You wouldn't be able to work at the Lamborghini factory. You know, they have hand-stitched consoles with the leather on the...
Oh, you
If,
kidding?
if you're sitting in a Lamborghini, how much does Lamborghini cost?
Oh, God, I
Oh,
got it.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do you
Well-
think, Patrick? Hundreds of
$500,000.
thousands. $500,000, and when you go in and you sit there and you look at the stitch work, it's crooked. You know, it's like, whoo, you know, they have 2 lines of hand stitching and they go off. Now, the guy doing that could get it really straight, but what they do is they intentionally, you know, they want people to know, hey, we hand stitched this.
Oh, wow.
So that, I'm not saying that you're gonna, you know, make a
You
boo-boo
gonna
or
put
anything.
Lamborghini on this?
You're doing a good job. That's, I
Thank
guess
you.
that's the bottom line. Okay, let's go over here. Let's go back to our cushion. So we cut our boxing at 4 inches, and I know now it's not gonna be long enough to go all the way around, so that's why I have some pieces ready. So what's more important right now is that I have it in the middle, and I'm lining up my center stripe here, okay, as best we can, because it does have that. And I'm gonna go from the middle. I'm going to start going around my cushion from the middle out, okay, and I'm going about 1/2 of an inch. It is 1/2 of an inch, not about. And now some people, for you guys, you know, who don't have that 1/2 of an inch in their mind's eye, you may want to trim up your salvage at 1/2 of an inch. Then you can use your machine at the 1/2 inch line on the machine. Okay, now what you have to do blindly is you have to plant the needle at the corner, and that's blind, that's by feel, right? And then continue sewing, okay? Okay, we're going to do the same thing here, plant the needle. And now we have to kind of go along with our non-notched interior there. And look, see what I'm doing with my elbow to move my fabric around? So you guys have to get used to, you beginners, get used to using different parts of your body to sew with, believe it or not. My knee is on the lever underneath. I'm using my elbow, using all my fingers. It's like an aerobic class here, right, Jimmy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Kevin. You know, you're the man.
Okay, so I'm a little close here. I think right now I'm gonna actually, I don't have enough, so I'm gonna actually put a piece in there. Okay, what I'm gonna do is come this way, and I'm gonna take my stitching down to a 2, lower that, and do a little back stitch there too at the end, and now I can continue stitching. But what I have to do with my zipper, it's gonna make a very difficult cushion to fill, but I want my zipper just in the back. I don't want it coming around the corner, because I don't want to see it, because Jimmy's got an open armchair, right? Which is big, big, big work, as we have found out, right?
Yes, this will be a memorable lesson, Kevin.
Yeah. Hopefully, you know, when we colonize Mars and they're up there upholstering, you know, this video still will be around, Jimmy.
Maybe we can finally make some money on it, Kevin.
What about upholstery on Mars?
Upholstery on Mars.
There you go. How many people would have thought of that title? I think I should probably, you know, let them know, Kevin, then you probably have trademarked that.
Okay, now I'm going to flip this over and work from the other side now. Okay, why don't I start at one end? Well, because of the stripe. I want to make sure I get all my stripes in line. I got a little thread coming up here, so I cut that. Okay, so I'm going to go right to the corner. Actually, I can see my corner now, which makes it a little easier sometimes. Plant the needle, work my piping around. My needle there. You have to make sure your salvage is is going the right direction too. That's what I just did there. I lifted it up just to see. Again, I'm a little short here, so I have to piece.
Kevin, you're pretty tall, I thought.
What happened?
Oh, never mind.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I meant the fabric shop.
Oh.
I'm very tall.
I just can't believe that actually we're short on that.
I'm a very tall man. All right. So let me go this way. Okay, let's just take a quick look at our work to make sure that we like our stitch work. It's pretty good. Very good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate my zipper onto the back here. If I can find my zipper here somewhere. Here it is. So on one side, I don't have a lock on this zipper, so I have to make sure that that I lock this side. Let's do that now, actually, before we forget. Okay, we're just going to take another little piece of fabric. It doesn't have to be big. That piece 2 inches long by about 1 inch wide, and then I'm going to put it underneath the zipper. I'm going to make sure I close the zipper at the end there, and then I'm going to very slowly work up to the metal portion of the zipper. This is very important. You don't want to ride over with your needle. Do this manually. Don't do it with the machine, because what you want to try to do, you see, you don't want to go through. You'll break the needle if you don't do it carefully. So do it manually through the metal portion, okay? So I got that locked. I know that that's not going to go anywhere, okay? So now I'm going to come off to this side. Now I'm going to trim this just a little bit because I do need to incorporate the whole bag, but I don't want the zipper to come around because I don't want people to see it through Jimmy's. Trying to do Jimmy a nice job. He's a tough customer, you know. We want him. He's the customer. We want to make sure that he's happy. So I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of Jimmy's wrath, especially since he knows all those actors that he's well known in Boston as the Boston guy, and he knows all these character actors, all these wise guys, right, Jimmy?
Oh yeah. Watch yourself there, Mr. Kennedy. Yeah. Keep it focused on the work.
Yeah, I better. He is the customer. Okay, so now that we have our zipper sewn into the box, and we're going to continue down here with our zipper. Now when you get to where it's pieced, you have to really, pay attention to that, because your machine's going to work a little harder, because it's going through a lot of different pieces, many layers. Okay, so now over here what we're going to do is going to trim this up just a little bit more because it's too much. I'm going to fold this over. I'm creating a pocket so that my zipper hides underneath, like so, and continue sewing. Okay, good. So we got one side of our cushion done. Now for the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're inside out, right? Get our other cushion. Make sure we get our front, right? Line up. Now we can go to one corner to line up on our cushion, okay, because we got one good side, and we're probably going to make sure that, because the other cushion's cut with the center point, that it's going to line up even when it's reversed, even when you turn it over. So now look, I'm going to notch my corner there to make sure that I'm lined up with opposite, right? So I'm going to put my notch in there, and I'm going to start sewing about 2 inches behind over here, okay, into my corner. turn my fabric. And keep sewing. Now, I'm going to go about halfway here. I'm going to be smart because I'm going to stop. I'm going to look to see how I'm doing. I'm doing pretty good with my lining up. But what's more important than lining up the bottom of the cushion to the center point is that your corners line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come all the way down here. I'm going to notch my corner, my front corner, my other corner. I'm going to see where I am. Okay, now you see I'm a little bit this way of the notch. So what I'm going to do is pull my fabric with piping to try to get that lined up, and then what I'm doing is I'm pulling the bottom piping and I'm hardly pulling the top, the boxing, right? And I'm going to get that really lined up nice. It's more important to get that lined up than it is even your stripe sometimes, and it's lined up perfect. So I'm just going to go right to that and plant the needle at the corner and continue sewing. Okay. Try to line up my back corners now, okay? So what you want to do is anticipate if your corner's going to be off, anticipate at least 10 inches away from where you're sewing. So I'm anticipating that now, and what I'm doing is I'm stretching the bottom piece, try to get it to cohort that into being cornered. I'm going to corner now. We'll see how close we are when we get around here. The nice thing about the back is you have some play with the pocket that you've created on the back, right? I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, now so this is the pocket side. So watch. You know that you did pretty good with your sewing is if this pocket's not angled. And look how nice and straight that is. You see that? After I fold it, look, see how straight this is? Blue fabric, dark fabric's kind of hard to see, you know, the stitching, what you're stitching. That's pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue stitching this side. Turning it over. We're going to check in, after we do this, we're going to check in with Jimmy.
What?
But Jimmy seems to be doing, how you doing over there, Jimmy?
I'm at the corner, Kevin. I'm doing pretty well right now.
Why don't you try to go around that corner, Jimmy? There's no secret to it. You just have to maintain that stitch around the corner. I don't know if you can, if you have trouble, let me know.
This might be my best stitching job ever, Kevin.
Well, I'll be the judge of that. No.
And who'd you say you were?
Hey, I work here.
No, I mean the real boss.
You work here. Alrighty. Now what I'm going to do is sew from the opposite end of the zipper. I'm tightening this whole thing up like so. Getting this underneath the pocket on this side. I'm going to sew. Nice and tight. We're done.
Are we really done, Mr. Chairman?
We're done with the
Are we ever
cushion.
really done? It's like a lawyer. Does a lawyer ever rest his case?
Not if he's getting paid by the hour. So let's just open this up, take a look at it. Very good. Jimmy, that's all ready to be stuffed, okay? Just gonna put that right
Did we use
there.
some of that high quality memory foam?
No, you know what, Jimmy, it's a good question. I think we'll talk a little bit, but I think your foam was fine that you had in here. Let's check in on Jimmy, see how you're doing, man. I think at this point you may want to consider putting it upright, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Because you're working down now, right? Let's
Yeah.
just see how you do with upright. Let's just see what you're doing. Ooh, I see Lamborghini in your future.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, a real paying job? Dude, I think they probably could send this to the Lamborghini people.
I think we should send pictures. How you doing? I think you're doing great. You know, if you anticipate, you know, a little bit of a problem, no, you're good. If you anticipate, if you see a little puckering like over here, it just fell out. But now might be a good time to fix this, right?
So it doesn't keep going.
But you don't want to be stitching to that problem area. You wanna just,
Then realize it's too late.
yeah.
Then you're making adjustments.
All right, there
Then
we
we
go.
have to go to the Kevin Kennedy Upholstery School and Broadway manual.
Yeah, don't forget, right? BroadwayUpholsterySchool.com, right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
We do have A to Z fundamentals of upholstery on that.
And that's
Suitable for-
online, correct?
Yes, it is, Jimmy.
Okay.
All right. So I'll follow up with you in a second, okay?
Okay.
Can't go that.
20 minutes, right?
Yeah. It's ready. Really old.
You know, I just gotta do a little work. I'm gonna do the base welt halfway while you're there,
Okay.
just for the sake of time today, and then show people in the other half how I'm doing it, okay? And I'm just gonna be doing a little staple work, that's all. Don't worry, you guys. I'll show you how this is done on the other side. I'm not going to do this.
I got a massive knot here, Mr. K.
You know, you can always end it and start it again if you have to. Would you like me to?
Yeah, I'll just cut it.
Can we pull you just a little bit this way? Right there. Good.
You sure?
Yep.
We'll take what you need, Kevin.
Do you need these scissors again?
Yes, I might.
Okay.
Oops. There. I didn't know there was too much. But you can show me how to do that tie-off technique. I know I'm gonna need that soon.
So you're still sewing with the original thread, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And you have to cut it off.
So we know that Jimmy's back is to the is to this, but we're going to let him finish that. I'm going to turn the needles though, for the sake of just the time today for the last class. If you guys need some instruction, further instruction on how to hand stitch, I'm going to go through my videos because I think we show this on one of the YouTube videos. Because I know that this is hard to see with the blue fabric and all, and even though we got great camera people here, I know that sometimes it's hard to see certain things. And let me just scroll down here to see if I can refer you guys to a hand stitching video that I have. I'm almost sure, but it's been a while, I bet. And if we don't, we'll make one.
Oh. Is it paying position?
How to upholster, how to fix a torn cushion cheaply. You might want to look at that one. Fixing a torn cushion seam cheaply. I think that shows you how to hand stitch. A close, oh, here we go. This definitely is a good video for you. Hand stitching a panel, do it yourself. Go to that one, because in that one I show you the same thing as Jimmy was doing, and but it's more, the fabric I think is a light colored fabric, so you're going to be able to see that hand stitching better, and you'll get tips too. So that's good. So what we're going to do with Jimmy, we're going to hold him up on his hand stitching, and he's going to finish that up. I promise, Jimmy, you'll finish that up later. So he's going to hold off right now. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the chair around. I want to show you what we're doing to finish off the bottom. And then we're going to put the cushion in. Right, Jimmy?
What? I'm in the stride. I'm in
know.
my prime. I'm in my.
We want you to. I don't want you to rush.
No, I'm not trying to rush. I don't want to rush.
So let's
It's,
turn. Just want to catch people up on what we're doing for the rest of the chair. I want to show them something. So we're putting the base welt on. Remember we needed to cover up the staples. Does that look good?
That looks classic.
Okay, I'm going to pull that chair. I'll pull this chair over. Okay. So I'm going to pull tight to this across the front, and what I'm doing is I'm stapling about every inch or so.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that it's just coming out a little bit, probably, you know, I'd say 1/4 of an inch. Okay, because you have to bring it out to this spot, okay? If you're even, and this wouldn't be sitting where it is. See how the transition is nice here?
Right.
So you want a nice transition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out now the selvage, right? And then I'm careful not to cut the stitching. You can't cut the stitching, right? I'm close to the stitching. And then I'm gonna pull this tight all the way around. Oh, there's a tack in here, let me take that
What?
out. Somebody left a tack, that last guy that was a
Ladies and gentlemen, due to our freaking bad programming at this time.
And another tack over here. Oh, well,
Kevin, what, I thought you knew what you were doing.
you just go, I'm tightening up around the leg, Jimmy. Okay, take my regulator. I'm gonna take my glue. I'm gonna heat up the glue gun while you're continuing to stitch the back. And then we're gonna take care of this little part here. We're gonna glue it to make sure it doesn't
Do we
move.
need to? I mean,
Yeah, well, sometimes you don't over small expanses, but this is a rather large expanse, so you might want to put a little glue in there, not much. Now look what I'm doing, I'm pulling it tight to this point, and I'm stapling. And I'm stapling between. Now, I have to cut this off, about an inch beyond. And I'm pulling this out like so. And I'm going to just cut the piping, I'm going to fold the fabric back. And I'm going to butt it right up against your leg to make it look like it just disappears into the leg. How's that?
now why did you have to cut it beyond? Well,
We're here to cut the piping out just to have fabric to fold.
ah, okay.
See how it kind of melts into the leg there? Isn't
Yeah.
that nice?
Wow.
Okay, let's bring it back to you. Let's continue stitching. Okay?
I think I lost my rhythm, man. I'm like Rocky, you know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm getting ready for the big finale here. Plug that glue gun in. Well, hello everybody. We're really excited. We have Bernice, who's a longtime friend and also a professional in slipcovers. I've known her going way back, right,
Way back.
Bernice?
Oh, like 20 years.
We're really excited about
Yeah.
having Bernice come on board to the Broadway Upholstery School online classes, as well as the Broadway Upholstery School YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So you're going to be seeing a lot of Bernice, hopefully. I had to really squeeze her arm a little bit to help, but
Yeah.
we're really excited about it.
Oh, thanks for wonderful, wonderful words.
Yeah, thanks. So we're going to just let her go and get busy on and showing a cushion today on one of our online class cushions. Needs a little help because the fabric was a little tricky to work. And I thought, what better person than Bernice to help out? So I'm going to do, Bernice, I'm going to hand you this cushion. You want-
Okay,
I'm gonna
fabulous.
put this down because we determined that the cushion is a good fit, right? Okay.
Yeah. we
Thank you, Bernice.
Put it on there, and the old cushion with the old fabric fits well in the new upholstery that Jimmy has been doing. But this is a really tricky cushion with these cutouts. And the pattern that he's chosen with that vine is also kind of tricky, and we want to make sure that it's going to be lined up properly, that the center comes up here and goes up here and then matches the inside back. So what I have found, the best way when you're copying a cushion is to sort of straighten out the corners, the seams, make it as square as possible. Because originally it was cut square. And the best way to take these measurements is to make a pattern. So I have a scrap piece of fabric here. I'm going to lay it across it. And it doesn't matter the orientation. I just need to cover the top of this cushion. Here we are. So now this is all covered up. I want to make an exact replica of what the original fabric was. So I'm using these upholstery pins, and I'm tethering my scrap fabric down all around because I don't want it to shift. This is hard work. Both of these upholstery fabrics are heavy, and you can see I'm struggling to get these pins in. But if I just stuck a pin in like this, it's going to shift. I have to stick it in and then back up again, so that now that fabric is not going to shift. So I've laid it all out. It's taut. Here's my chalk. I just have a piece of regular blackboard chalk. I'm going to run it across here like this. And what I'm catching is the welt on the original upholstery. I hope you can see that marking. So I'm running the edge of the chalk right around this. I've got another cutout in here. So you can see I've got this cutout got put in. And why this is happening is that the cording is projecting up, and it pushes through this blue fabric, and I'm just sort of tracing it. So now I have a really good approximation of what that cushion is going to look like. It's not exact though. So now I can take this off. I have to think about what this chalk line means. When I've run this here, I'm catching the outer edge of this cording, but my actual seam line is in 1/4 of an inch. So I can look at this line that I have and know that my actual seam line is 1/4 inch inside that. I'm going to plan on 1/2 inch seam allowances. So that means if my actual seam line is going to be 1/4 inch in, I don't know if you can see it, it'd be in here. My cutting line is going to be 1/2 inch outside. So I'm going to cut this chalk pattern out 1/4 of an inch outside it. There's always some distortion on the original cushion, and we have to assume that when it was made originally that the lines were straight. So even though I have some little squiggly lines here, I'm just going to cut and straighten it out. Right now I'm ignoring the cutouts like here. This is for the front arm post, and this is for the back post. I'm just ignoring that at this point. Okay. So now I have a pattern, except for my cutouts, that looks like it's the right size. We go back to the cushion and we lay it on top. We want to make sure that it's reflecting the actual size of this cushion. And as I feel around it, I can feel just that little 1/4 of an inch extending all around. So I know I've got a good fit. I may have some distortion of the original cushion for these posts, but I know that the chair was constructed symmetrically. So I know that the left post is going to be at the same point as the right post. So I'm folding my pattern in half. While I'm at it, I'm notching my center. So I've got a nice notch here in the center of the front and a notch in the center of the back. I know that my cushion has to be symmetrical around that center line. So I'm folding it in half. I'm going to cut out this notch. And again, I'm going to go a 1/4 of an inch outside my line. It's kind of hard to do. Okay, and I've cut the 2 layers together. I want each of these to be in the exact same place. So now I have my front arm pieces cut out. Let's do the same thing for the back. Okay, there's my pattern. It's gonna fit. I'm laying it on just to make sure everything is lined up right. Everything looks good. I can feel it. It'll be great. I usually do one more thing just to double check that this is going to be the right size. And I have here a tape measure. I'm going to measure the width of this cushion in a few places. This side, from side to side here. So I'm going to measure from the seam line. So I've got to pull that little cording away, pull it across to the seam line, and it's 24 inches. So I know from here to here, from the seam to seam should be 24 inches, and I have a 1/2 inch on each side, so I know it should be 25. And it's 25. Yay. But if it were off a little, when I do my final cutting of the good fabric, I would adjust it. So I usually mark on my pattern that this width has to be 25. I'm going to measure another spot right here just to make sure. I'm going to measure here. This says 20.5, so this one from this edge has to be 21.5, and it is. And up here it's as 17, so this part should be 18. And it's 18. Yay. and front to back 23. So my pattern should measure 24, and it is 24. So I'm just gonna mark this again, 24. So I've got all the measurements I need when I lay this on my regular fabric, my finished fabric. I'll be all set to go. The last thing I need to know is, what is my border going to look like? So I need to measure that. I measure it in a few places. A lot of times on an old cushion, the front edge is distorted, but I'll measure it anyway. It comes out at 3 1/4, 3 1/4, 3 1/4. Looks like it's going to be 3 1/4. 3 1/4, and here's 3 1/2. But the majority of these numbers are 3 1/4. That's what we're going with. As long as it's consistent. The important part is that it's all the same. So 3 1/4 is finished. Okay, all set to go. All right, we have our pattern for the cushion for Jimmy's chair. And now we're going to go to the finished fabric. I find it's best to use a pattern rather than trying to cut directly on the finished fabric. The finished fabric tends to be expensive, and you generally only have a small amount of it. You have enough for your chair, and you haven't bought a whole lot extra. So if this had turned out wrong, I'd just throw it in the scrap bin and do another one until I got it to be the exact size and shape that I wanted. And then I'm going to go to my finished fabric, because I don't want to waste this. This is too valuable. So what we've learned, what Jimmy has told you, this is the center line of his pattern that he's using down the center back, inside back, and on the deck. So I want to use that same center line for the center of the cushion. So as I come down, it's this line right here. So I'm going to lay my pattern right on that. And I have my notches that I can center on this line. And it's down here. I can go right to the edge, because this will be my seam allowance. This notch is lined up with that center vine. My center front is lined up with that center of the pattern. And now this is all here and ready to go. I can cut it and be confident that pattern's going to match, cushion is going to fit, all the things that are important to me. As I'm cutting, I'm going to replicate this center notch on the good fabric, the center front and the center back. Here's my center back. The notch. Cutting out the back post. Back post. Side post. And the other post. Okay. It's all ready to go. I might check it on the chair to just make sure everything's good, but I'm confident that it's good, because all the numbers are right. So now I want to cut out the other part, the other side of the cushion. This fabric piece is in a weird shape. I have a long strip here that goes off to the side. I'm thinking that that would be my border. So if I cut my other pattern piece over here, I'm going to drift it up as high as I can so that my border piece will come through here and be able to come all the way out to this side. Because I'd love to have this front border, the front that comes around here, all the way up to the zipper, around here to the zipper in one piece. The original upholstery has seams here and here, but ideally, if I can cut this out without seams, it would be much nicer. But I do have to remember, so that's why I'm going to slide this up and leave this. I have to remember my border piece was 3 1/4 finished, which means I need 4 1/4 inches to cut here. And how much do I have? I've got about 6 inches. That's just wonderful. Rather than cut from this again, I'm going to cut from our first piece. Here's our center line. I've got my notch here. And where's my notch? There's a notch there. Laying this out. So I'm going to cut this face down, make sure it'll match exactly. So this will be the top of the cushion, and then the other side will be the back. So it's all ready to cut out. Whenever I have details like these notches for the posts, when I'm doing my first cutting, I ignore them. I just go right past them. Rather than trying to use the whole bolt of fabric on the table and do this very fine cutting, I'm just doing the gross cutting. Then I can I don't have all of this extra yardage in my way while I'm doing that fine cutting, the fine cuts. That's it. Now I can get rid of this. Yay. It's so much easier to do small cuts when you have, you don't have pounds of fabric dragging on you. All right, and I'm going to notch my center again. I always like to know where my center line is. When I'm stitching it, I'll use these as reference points, because I know if this is the center and this is the center, once I get my border on, I know that they have to be exactly perpendicular to each other. And the relationship, I want my cushion to be square. Sometimes you'll see a bad cushion made and the corners are like offset like that. And you know that that's just bad sewing and bad planning. So we're not going to do that. We're going to have a nice square cushion. So our pieces are ready to go. When Jimmy comes back, he'll have his cushion all set. We need to cut the border, cut the welt, the zipper panel, then it's all ready to go. Okay?
All right, Jimmy, great. He's got a knot. You got the knot in there. Just cut the end, and you're done.
Okay, so
Not bad, my friend. Now the big test, right? Let's see how it looks with the cushion. Let's put it down. See if we can get a. Boy, I'm excited. You got a little chalk there that we'll clean off.
That's not
The last
yeah.
piece, I'm gonna let you
Oh, wow,
do it. Why don't you put the cushion
oh my
in?
God, this is like wow.
Jimmy, what do you think?
Oh my God, wow.
Wow is right. Sit down, my friend. You deserve it.
Oh my God, it's
Isn't that something?
so different from what it actually was, where it was unstable and I hate to say it, kind of ratty.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Jimmy, and
Thank you.
we'll see you in the next project, right?
What do I have, Kevin? What do you think I
I
should
don't know.
do?
You better search the garbage.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'll be driving down Main Street, USA. I know that.
Well, thanks a lot, Jimmy, and we'll see you the next time. So, thank you for tuning in. Thanks.